Hi guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Jeff Uzodima, your host, and in today's video I'm going to be talking about things that you need so that you can write computer programs in your from the comfort of your home or wherever it is you find comfortable operating on. Okay, so please watch till the end. Thank you. Welcome back. In today's video I'm going to be talking about things you need for programming. Okay, so one of the things in the list that you need is a computer, right? So the computer could be a PC, your desktop computers, or it could be a laptop if you like to be mobile, or it could be a desktop. And also, if you are calculating costs, then the PC should be the way to go. However, you must consider electricity before you acquire your PC. Okay, so if you have constant electricity in your home, then the PC is the way to go. But if electricity is an issue in your area or the place of residence or the place of work or whatever it is you find convenient for you, then you should get a laptop because of the battery the laptop carries around. Okay, so with the laptop you get at least 3 hours, 2 hours extra time when there's no power on the system or power for charging. Okay, so that's one. And also the PC is cheaper, hence why I mentioned the PC. So if you're also cost sensitive, like if you're trying not to break your bank so that you can start working or programming, then get a PC is cheaper to get as opposed to getting a laptop. Okay, that it's general. The PCs is cheaper generally, and also you can configure them to you can configure the size of your PCs and even boost them cheaply, and have patch replacement very easily. Or you could even configure your own PC from start to finish, very easy to do. There are even YouTube videos on this aspect. Okay, or you could easily just get a simple basic 4 gig or 8 gig RAM systems that are cheap. Sometimes it could be second-handed. Okay, it mustn't be brand new systems. Okay, so it could be second-hand systems, and then you're good to go with that. Okay, so once you've gotten your PC, next is you should cater for internet. Okay, so the internet could be maybe your home Wi-Fi, it could be your mobile phone Wi-Fi or hotspots, or you could be using them dongles or modems that you could carry around with one of these same providers in your country. Okay, so once you've gotten your modem and gotten your system connected to the internet, that's your next step. Then with these two things you can acquire or get by yourself a compiler or an interpreter. Okay, now what is a compiler, what is an interpreter? Both do the same thing but have different methods. Okay, they are actually tools you will need to write your computer programs, right? So the difference between the compiler and the interpreter is the compiler would compile your code from start to finish to machine codes before the machine can understand it, before it transfers your code to the computer to run. Okay, while the interpreter will take your codes and compile them line by line, right? Compile them line by line and then sends the output to the computer to process. Okay, so the difference between the two is one converts to machine code first and passes machine code to the computer. The other takes it line by line. So it takes the first line, for instance, an interpreter will take the first line of code, compile it to machine and send it for processing. Okay, so that's the difference between the two, right? So a good example of compilers and interpreters, let me start with compilers. A good example of compilers is Java, right? So I'm going to mention popular languages. Okay, so Java is a good example of a compiler, and for you to have Java you need to install the Java runtime environment, which is what they call the JRE or the JDK as well. I think you need both of them to be able to run Java successfully on your systems. So you've got these two installed, you can run Java, right? Then you have C++, you have C. Now these days, if you want to run C or C++, you need to install for us in Linux, sorry, I use Linux for my day-to-day activities. So for us in Linux we use JCC. Okay, so I don't know what it's called in Windows, but I'll help you check. I'm going to put that on my description below so that you can install for your operating system. Okay, so once you've done that, you'll be able to have a compiler that you can use to write your program. Okay, then another popular compiler is C# is a compiler. Yeah, it's arguable though, but C# is a compiler. And what's it called again? I mentioned it. Then assembly language is also a compiler. Okay, so interpreters, 3 popular interpreters I'm going to tell you is 1, Python. Python is a good interpreter. 2 is Lua scripts. If you've not heard of Lua, you can check it out. So I'll put all these things and links below in my descriptions. Okay, so Lua is an interpreter, and JavaScript is an interpreted language as well. Okay, so what to keep in mind is when using any of these codes, you would get or achieve the same results. You would achieve the same results, but one of them runs faster than the other. Okay, so there's usually no difference between the two in terms of getting the job done, right? But in terms of expressions and working it out to run your programs, there's a difference. Okay, now the next in your programming quest is to get a good editor. Once you've installed a compiler or an interpreter of your choice that you want to start with, then you need to get a good editor. Okay, so the editors are where you type in your codes, right? So you type in your codes on the editor, and once you type them in the editor, then you can run your codes using the compiler. Okay, so good editors, I'm going to mention the popular ones like your vscode, that's your Visual Studio. Okay, formerly Visual Studio, but now vscode, which is the free edition. And you have Atom, you have Sublime. My favorite is Sublime, followed by Atom. Okay, Atom editor, don't forget, I'm going to put the link in my description. So Atom editor, what's it called again? Atom. And we have Eclipse, which is the grandfathers of all the editors. I'm joking. Grandfathers of all the editors. And you have this other name, okay, some Pycharm. Yes, Pycharm is also there. Then some people, especially people doing data science, are very comfortable doing Jupyter. Okay, running Jupyter for their programming. Okay, and they are okay with that, and there's no discrimination. Then these days there are also companies that have online editors that you could work on your browsers and type in your codes and have them run on the browsers as well. Okay, so one of the companies that comes to mind is I think it's CodeTemp. I'm gonna get that name. Yeah, I'm gonna get the name of the company and then put it there. Not an advert, I'm just saying it. Okay, so essentially they provide you with an editor and an interpreter at the same time, where you have to type in your codes and click a button to execute the codes. Okay, so once you've settled in on your editor and your editor of choice, then the main task for you to do is learn the tool that you are using. Okay, learn the tools and learn how to express your thoughts and your thinkings with the tools. Okay, now in the process of learning is where the work comes in. Okay, because sometimes you'll be learning and you would not feel like it, and sometimes you would you motivate yourself to learn, and 5 minutes into reading the article or watching the video you start to sleep. Okay, but in such situations, muster courage, right? Then keep at it. If sleep comes, sleep, then wake up and continue, right? There's nothing wrong with you sleeping in between. It's absolutely okay. And also sometimes too, why you really would sleep off is because what you're reading is not exciting the brain but causing you to think and process, which is getting you tired as a result. So it's not bad. If sleep comes, you sleep, and you wake up and then go back to where you stopped, and you notice that you'll be able to continue and go longer hours. Okay, so majority of the challenges that people have when they are learning new programs or new programming languages is the motivation to keep at it. Okay, so that's really the issue you probably might get when learning to use the tool. Okay, so you need to master the tool. Okay, so it's something that you cannot escape, but you need it, right? So at that point you need the motivation to keep pushing. And the reason why you've gotten your systems and your internets and the compilers and the editors is so that you can practice while you're learning. So if you learn whatever it is you've learned, then you quickly practice them. Now every practice you do, the knowledge sticks in. Every practice you do, your knowledge sticks in. And make sure you start from the simplest of things. Don't bother about the complex ones yet. Start from the simplest of things, and gradually you keep improving upon what you know. And if you spend 2 months at it, you'll be shocked at what you've accomplished within 2 months. And then you spend 6 months at it, you'll be shocked at what you've accomplished in 6 months time. So keep at it, and you are going to see improvements in all what you're doing. Okay, so once you're learning it, I'm going to answer the following questions. Like people ask me, they say, Jeff, what kind of language should I start with, since there are several languages in the market today? Now, if you go by the number of languages in the market and the number of confusions out there in the market, you would never achieve anything. Okay, so the best thing you have to do is start with the most prescribed language that is simple, right? So if they say this language is the simplest, that is the one you should start with. Okay, now if you choose and say this is the language you want to start with, then when you start it, stick to it, right? Now if you ask a professional for advice, okay, like for me, if you ask me for instance and say, Jeffrey, I want to know what language I should start with when learning, since I'm a beginner, right? So my advice would be to start with Python interpreter language. Okay, so the reason why I'm suggesting you start with Python is because Python is very simple to learn. There are so many people and so many posts and documents on Python language, and if you get stuck, you can easily get help with Python. Now this is not to say you won't get help in other languages, but the one that is close to human expression is Python. Okay, other languages have a form of way in which they are close to human expression, but Python really beats them all, right? So the simplest language to start with is the Python language, and that's my personal advice or my opinion about this. Now it's debatable on which to start with. Depending on where you are, like if you're in Lagos here and you tell me you're looking for a bank job, you want to do this, you want to do that, I'll say do C#. You see, but before you do C#, I'll say learn the concepts of programming first of all, which is go to Python, learn Python, then jump to C#. Okay, so that way with some form of knowledge of programming you can switch to C# and then make yourself ready for the job you're looking for, right? So to be fit for the environment you want to do the job. Okay, so that's my opinion, that's my advice. All right, so also when you are practicing, you tend to want to have Stack Overflow in your pockets, right? So on the internet, if you need help, say you run into a roadblock and you're looking for how to quickly solve your problem, you could easily go to Stack Overflow to get help. That's where almost 99% of all developers go to for help, and it's a rich community that could help you. You could post your questions, you could post your problems, and somebody in the community would come in and reply you and help you solve your problems. Yeah, so you can never get stuck while learning programming. Okay, so that's that. Then must I know maths before I start programming? No, you mustn't know maths before you start programming. Okay, you mustn't, right? But you must know how to put pieces together. In other words, you must be highly logical, right? Because programming is logic, and you're following a particular sequence of thoughts or logic to arrive at your answer. That's all you should be bothered about. Whatever maths you would like to solve in the future, that can easily be done. That can easily be done by plotting the formulas and replacing them with the variables. The computer will do the rest for you. So you mustn't be a math genius to write computer software. Okay, Then another question I get is, must I be studying science inclined courses before I can program? No, you mustn't. You mustn't. Okay, I'll give you an example. We've got lawyers who left the call to bars to write computer softwares. We've got grandpas who has come out of retirement to learn programming. We've got teachers who's become programmers. We've got even kids that write small bits of code here and there. That is also, they are not scientists. Okay, so that is to say that if you're motivated enough, you can learn how to program. Okay, one thing is common with every one of us is the desire to learn, right? So once you have that desire and you keep your gaze at it and you focus on it, you will learn how to program. It's not rocket science at all in any way. It's not rocket science at all in any way. So these are my thoughts on things you should get to start writing computer programs, and I hope you enjoyed the time you spent with me. Yeah. Thank you for staying around. Thank you for watching up to this moment. If you have any questions, you could drop me a comment below, and everything I've mentioned, you can also check where to get them on my descriptions down below. Okay, so whatever questions you have, let me know in the comment section. Thank you for staying put. Cheers. Bye.